Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Witches and Wine. This is the show where we talk about witchy stuff and we drink wine. Clink and drink.
Clink and drink.
And clink and drink
Clink
to
and
that
drink to our
amazing guest over there. Mm. So before we get started with this, yeah, I know it's so yummy.
Oh, that's good.
Before we get started with this amazing guest, I'm so excited. First time on our show and hopefully not the last. I am Lola Stardust. I am the High Priestess. What am I again?
You're the High Priestess.
I'm the High Priestess of Children of the Crossroads, ATC, in Spokane, Washington.
And I am Selena Stardust, the High Priest of Children of the Crossroads, ATC.
And we like to do a little disclaimer before we do our show. It has been brought to our attention that sometimes people don't like to watch witches talk about witchy stuff while drinking wine. They say, it's not serious enough. You're getting too tipsy. You're having too much fun. And we get that. If we're not your cup of tea or your cup of wine, you have the ability to click the X in the corner of your screen and we disappear.
You got magic. You got power. Boom, we're gone.
You are magical beings, people. You can make us disappear. Okay, so for those who stick around, now you're in for the real fun. So before we get to our guest, I'm going to turn this over to my husband, my high priest, my partner in crime. Selena Stardust, why don't you tell us about the wine we're drinking tonight?
All right. Well, tonight I chose my favorite of all grapes. We're doing a Cab Franc tonight. This is Beaucanin Estates Cuvée Louis Cab Franc out of Napa. Absolutely delicious, 100% Cab Franc. We got chocolate notes. We have cedar notes. We have leather. We have berry notes. We got rose petal flavor. Absolutely beautiful, deep, bold Cab Franc. Dry, strong tannins. Not overwhelming. Just absolutely beautiful.
Oops, sorry.
Gonna run you about $40 a bottle. So not inexpensive, but not stupid expensive.
Yeah.
Gonna go excellent with some braised lamb or anything with a smoky flavor to it. And yeah, just absolutely beautiful, beautiful wine. Yeah.
So good. Look we got 10 people popped up. Selena Fox, you bring all the witches to the yard. I tell you what. Thank you, my love,
You're
for
welcome.
a wonderful wine. I remember this wine very well. Loving it. So I'm going to turn this over to this amazing woman. If you don't know who Selena Fox is, you have been living under a rock. She is a trailblazer. She has been around longer than any of us probably have been alive. Well,
she's longer than me, but not quite you.
Not quite me, but whatever. I was still a baby. And Selena Fox, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you on.
It's great to be here, and I'm so thankful that you're continuing a long-standing pagan, Wiccan, witchy tradition of broadcasting.
Yes, I know. We do it with a lot of mirth in our hearts, and we love Dionysus, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you have a wine that you are drinking. Would you like to tell us about the wine that you're drinking?
Well, we have a wine cellar at our house, and it occurred to me that a wine that was gifted to me a few years ago, and it's still very good, would be perfect for this show.
Absolutely.
And what might that wine be? It is called Witch's Brew, and it's from Door County, Wisconsin.
Hello, that's amazing.
I thought it would be fitting to have a Wisconsin wine as part of our time together, and one that actually is named for witches.
Yep.
Yes.
And we feel blessed that you're pulling something out of your personal cellar that you've been sitting on for the show.
I know. That's amazing. I feel very, very special right now. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Is it a good tasting wine? Are you enjoying it?
It's fabulous. And I got 2 bottles on Halloween. So
nice.
That's going to come out a little later this month.
Yeah. Nice. Well, clink and drink, Selena Fox, to wonderful wine.
Clink and drink.
Clink and drink. Oh my God! For those of you that don't like wine, you're missing out. So let's get started. Selena Fox, let's talk about how long you have been doing this witchcraft stuff that you have been like. I mean, I just think of you as a trailblazer. Tell us about your humble beginnings when you started being known as a public witch and all the things that you brought out to the forefront for us.
Well, my beginnings of my public witchy side actually go back to my youth, and I didn't know what to call my practices, but nature communion and what I now call nature mysticism was the very first part of my journey that's taken me into doing the craft, pagan rites work, and yes, some witchy podcasting and broadcasting.
Yeah.
And so I would go out in the backyard of the home that I grew up in, which was Northern Virginia. And it was more rural, it was suburban, but there was like a barn next door.
Yeah.
And I had favorite trees, I communed with the birds, and I just enjoyed being outside. And as I grew and went through public education and learned to read, some of the books that I started reading had mythic themes. My very first book that was a favorite that I read multiple times, The Little Witch.
Oh, of course.
I was resonating with the witch word from a very early age. And yes, of course, like others, watching some of the things on television and in the movies, Wizard of Oz, and of course, I resonated with Glinda, who's out there talking about the power within. That was a good thing. Yeah, the Wicked Witch of the West certainly had a bigger part in more drama. And I've gone in more recent years to see the Broadway production Wicked. And a film is going to come out made from that. So I had a resonance with witchcraft from a very early age. However, I was raised fundamentalist Southern Baptist. And I didn't realize that that was going to be a conflict until I got into my teen years. I felt a calling to doing ministry. Wrong gender. So I made my way into a seeking dimension. And as part of that process, I discovered that there were people who identified with the witch word who were doing some very similar things that had intuitively come to me as a young girl.
Yeah.
And I didn't call myself a witch while I was an undergraduate at the College of William and Mary in Virginia, but I definitely resonated with the ancient Greek and ancient Roman religion and culture. I really had been studying Latin since 9th grade and was really in harmony with some of the old principles of connecting with nature and euphoria, missing all of that wonderful thing as part of spiritual experience. I ended up not only being part of Eta Sigma Phi, the Classics Honor Society, but became president of it. And I had such a love of classics that I created something called the Classics Club for those people, whatever their grade point average.
Yay! That's awesome.
One of the I guess one of my lasting memories of being an undergraduate at the College of William and Mary was doing a public pagan rite of spring, a recreation of celebrating spring, weaving together, honoring Dionysus. Yo, hey, bo, hey! Yes, we used that chant. And Mother Earth, Terra. being able to do a ritual through my work with the Classics Club and the Classics Honor Society, the entire faculty of the Classics department, and
Wow.
some of the students and grad students. So one spring day in the early 70s, we donned our tunics and our togas. I had a thyrsis, a pine-tipped wand,
Nice.
and a tambourine, and we were off to the center of campus. And
Oh,
this ecstatic ritual. And I really wanted to do this as a way for people to experience the culture, not
Mhm.
just intellectually translate from the Greek and the Latin and look at the commentaries on these writings that have survived from the pagan past. To
Yep.
me, let's bring the classics alive.
Yes.
Well, late 60s, early 70s, there was a lot of experimentation with college institutions.
I
And
bet. Yeah.
going to the vice president's office to get a permit to hold this ceremony. I was very active with social change movements,
Mhm.
working
I
for
want, yeah.
racial equality, working for women's equality, working for environmental preservation. When he saw me come in, I could tell from his nonverbals, oh no, what's she organizing now? But because it was one of the original departments on campus, I mean, this campus started in 1693. He was relieved, and there was not a big hassle getting a permit.
Oh,
So
good.
on that spring day, we did a rite of spring and called the ancient ones with ancient language.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to call the old ones, be prepared for them to show up. I have
Right.
not been the same since.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, how was that received by everyone? Are you guys doing that in the students?
It was a big hit. The people in it really had a great time. I don't know if anybody else that was taking part in the ritual had the same kind of transformative um, process going on inside, but for myself, it really opened the gateways to the craft as well as paganism.
Yeah.
And it was public. It was out in the center of campus. Yes, we had people watching us and enjoying the whole theatrical ritual performance, which
Yeah.
actually had some energy to it. And
Yeah.
years later, when I was celebrating my 40th anniversary of graduation, I was there for a college reunion. I was brought to be a speaker on campus by the Classics Club and the Unitarian Universalist Pagan group on campus. They come
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
see, and I did a rite of autumn. So
Oh.
my roots into the classics continue to this day.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, but my craft really has been multicultural from its earliest stages.
Well, I want to point out something. During that time, the 60s and the 70s, there was a lot of experiment, like you said, experimentation with different religious beliefs, New Age, and that hippie movement. People were a little more open to being more thoughtful about nature and whatnot. Do you think? Did you ever see that get more conservative with time, or more open with time? Because I see it kind of doing both.
I've seen multiple trends with it. Certainly, there was a lot of experimentation, and it was only a few months after doing this ritual. After I graduated in 1971, and I got my first job actually being on an archaeological dig. And one of the people working on the dig, I was in the lab most of the time. We were putting together broken wine bottle glass and tobacco pipe stems from a colonial tavern dump.
Oh,
Awesome.
hey.
We were doing research, and while my major was psychology, I have always enjoyed ancient civilizations and archaeology. So to actually get a job doing archaeology work for the summer right after graduating was fabulous. And a woman named Marianne was in the lab, and I got this part-time job. I got to connect with her, and we resonated. And she actually, according to her family tradition, carried some of the craft from old Europe over to America.
Oh,
She
wow.
called it Prussian craft, which you have to go back into history, and there was a place called Prussia that included
Yes.
parts of Germany and other places. But it was a women's tradition, and it was full moon. So in terms of me starting to do group work in a private sense, she and I and another woman would meet that summer under the full moon and celebrate. And so that was my entry into the craft. So it began with classical paganism, and shortly thereafter, this connection happened. And while I haven't connected with her since those years, many long years ago, I can say that it made a lasting impression on me. And so HedgeWitchery has also been part of my mix. And I then came to realize different paths of the craft in paganism were sprouting up all across America and around the world. Now, this was before social media, podcasting, YouTube. This was back when we had telegraph, telegram, postal mail, and telephone.
Yeah.
And green egg.
And was green egg out at this time?
It was, yes, I believe that came out in the 60s.
Yeah.
I was just encountering people without even trying to encounter them. So I really felt it was really fabulous to connect with people who had some shared honoring of nature, the cycles of the season, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of life. And in 1974, the name circle and the logo of 12 circles around a central circle, encircled, came to me. And I just had the vision that it was important to create a network, some form of organization that would bring the different individuals in groups that I already knew about, but I was sure there was plenty more. So it's hard to believe. I was 25 when I helped birth Circle, and we're celebrating me turning 75 and Circle Sanctuary turning 50.
Yes.
October.
Congratulations.
What can you tell us what Circle Sanctuary, that is what we want to talk about now. It's celebrating its 50th anniversary. Can you tell us what Circle Sanctuary is, what you've done, what it's become, what it started as, all those things?
Yes, it started as a way of connecting people together. It was more locally based in the early days, but our very first event, which was Yule 1974, was international. I had a Yule party at the rented apartment that myself and some other people were living in, and that was really our first gathering. So Circle was a way of bringing people together to connect with each other, but to connect with the greater circle of nature of which we're part. I also had a sense that it was really important for us to move out into a rural area. So in 1975, we moved to what we now call Circle Farm #1. And if you look at Drawing Down the Moon, you'll see some photos that go back to that time. We created a pentagram garden where we did rituals. It was a rented farmstead, and that was where Circle got its start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and we started doing publishing. Early on in the 70s, I connected with Carl Weschke in the very last Gnosticon, which is in 1976. I had the opportunity and the good time to be one of the speakers. My partner at the time, Jim Allen, and I were starting to share our music. And the then brand new media called cassette tape, we released some of our chants and songs. Even before the cassette tape, we had a publication called Circle Magic Songs, and kept it in print. It's gone through some formatting changes, a little bigger now, but we started doing publishing, and we started actually creating a postal mail network and did publications occasionally, and then it went quarterly, and that evolved into Circle Network News, a newspaper that evolved into Circle Magazine in the 90s with 4-color cover and the whole thing. But then, of course, the internet became a thing.
Yep.
And so we realized that we needed to find a way to go online. So in 1995, we went online with the first version of our website. And it was a student that we were networking with that happened to have some access to a server. And that's how we got online. So we've been online nearly 30 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Trend setting again.
And that we're showing is that's always been circlesanctuary.org. Has that always been the address?
Our very first website did not have a domain name, but we got that shortly thereafter as we started getting people who were volunteering their time and expertise in this growing realm of the World Wide Web. And you know, what's happened with Circle Sanctuary over the years is as community has connected and as the times have evolved, we've evolved to meet the needs of the people that we've been serving. Probably most people are aware that we've been very active with the quest for equal rights for witches and other pagans.
Yes.
And that's something we're going to not only celebrate this year as part of our 50th anniversary, but next year in 2025 is the 40th anniversary of the Lady Liberty League, which has been, it was birthed by an action to uphold our rights when a U.S. senator tried and succeeded to get an amendment to the postal bill in the U.S. Senate passed, and it was in danger of becoming law. You know, if you remember your civics class, you got the House, you got the Senate, the Joint Conference Committee. And in 1985, I was out in California at a pagan festival called the Harvest Moon Celebration in the Hollywood area, LA Hollywood area.
Yeah.
I remember right prior to me giving a talk there, someone came in and said, this bill, this amendment to this bill has just been passed by the entire US Senate. And I, after doing my presentation, I found a phone, didn't have a cell phone back then. And actually talked to Barry Lynn, who was working with the American Civil Liberties Union as a lobbyist. He later became the executive director of Americans United for Separation of Church and State.
Oh, wow.
And so I had the opportunity to work with him again on a different pagan rights quest, which was the Veteran Pinnacle quest. And I'm so thankful for ATC being part of that quest. And I'm so thankful for all the different individuals and groups, not only from different paths of the craft and paganism, but different philosophies and religions and free thinkers. I mean, it was really fabulous to have such a coalition come together and get our symbol as an option to be included on grave markers for deceased veterans issued by the federal government, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs National Cemetery Administration. So
oh my gosh.
the Liberty League has done a whole lot of things over time, and I'm so thankful that we've had successes, but part of that success has come from the kinds of things not only that Circle Sanctuary has been doing, but what you all, by having a broadcast medium, have been doing, being able to get correct information out to people in ways that we can work together for the greater good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that I want to talk about, well, first I want to go back a little, because you were talking about the music and your songs and stuff. And that's how I remember you quite a bit, is that I follow your Instagram, and I love your songs and your chants that you do. Has that always been something you love? I love music, so I'm going to always bring up the music game. You seem just so musically inclined with celebrating the goddess with music. Is that just that's just something you love to do, correct?
I love music and grew up in a family that sang. I learned piano when I was in second grade. I started studying piano, and I've sung in choirs. I sang in a Baptist choir as well as school choirs. And I really think whether one is going to take the journey of being a singer or musician professionally, I think it's really important for us to recognize whatever our musical abilities, we can use our voice to make magic. So I have chants come to me, probably the chant song that I created back in the 70s. And so it's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
His song, Circle Around the Fire, that song.
Yes.
Every so often I'm out on the internet and I see my chant, and it's been around so long. My name isn't there. It's traditional. Well, it's the 70s.
And how does that make you feel?
How does that make you feel, Selena?
Depending on what I'm juggling at the moment, I might reach out to whoever's doing the website and go, well, yes, it's become traditional, but I actually created that chant. It came from a dream that I had. And sometimes I get a chant coming to me in the middle of a ritual. There's a need to move energy in a new way, and I'll just come up with a chant. Most of my chants are simple. Why simple? Easy to teach others, especially in a large group setting. So if you have hundreds of people and you're trying to build community in a ritual, it's really important to have a loud voice or a microphone or both. And to come up with ways that people can join together energetically. So I love group singing.
And that's what I always kind of, I associate you with the pagan rites. I associate you with a lot of things, but one of my favorite things I associate is your singing and your chanting, and that. So to me, that just makes my heart just feel really good, because I love that. We've got a question here from Witchcraft TV. What advice do you have for modern pagan media?
Do it.
We're going to borrow from Nike today and just do it.
Modern pagan media, and I do think it's important to have different venues and different platforms, but we need to have pagan media. It not only is good for those who develop becoming fans of a show, whether it's video or audio. But if there is a need to get the word out to people about different things, that can be a really good way to make that connection. And I want to, I guess, give this piece of advice for pagan media is archive your things in multiple places in multiple ways. There are a number of libraries, different pagan and craft institutions are gathering books and other materials, and having it online is good, but I also think we need to have some ways of archiving our podcast and our broadcast, our publications, our blogs in some tangible form, and to put them in repositories where they can be accessed that will be protected.
Yeah.
I remember there was a big conference that was held for many years out in California called Patron God. And I remember showing up at the pagan media panel, and it was really fascinating to have different people who were in the blogosphere at that point talking. It was before podcasting really became a thing. So that's how far back it was. But, and as we were all talking about ideas and ways of sharing information, there was Q&A, and I said, well, how are you archiving your things? Silence.
Yeah, that's
crickets.
And I'm hoping that those of you who are watching that are involved in pagan media or are supporting pagan media can encourage those who are doing this to not only archive on YouTube and Facebook, but to find a way to, whether it's a thumb drive or some other means, to have more than one way of preserving it, because we are the ancestors of tomorrow. And we are evolving the craft and pagan community. And I've been having a real adventure going down memory lane with our archivists as I've been looking at some of our videotape from the 80s, and some of the stuff's online, some of it isn't. And to actually still have a working VCR to be able to take a look at some of the things. So we're in the process of digitizing some of the archival footage we had. And I would say anyone who happens to be on some kind of mainstream media show, and 'tis the season, October, when we're doing this,
right?
Call it Witchtober. There's a lot of amazing and actually positive things that come out to help people understand about the craft and Samhain and Halloween, the connections and all of that. Well, not only be on it and recognize, okay, it's archived online, but get a copy of it and save it in a good place and make copies and have it in more than one place, because we are creating history, all of us together. And those who are going to be practicing in the 22nd and the 23rd century will give thanks, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah. Well,
I was doing something just like that earlier today, where I started cataloging all of the wines that we've offered and presented during Witches and Wine. And it was very interesting to see 6-7 years ago when we started this to where it's come now, and seeing I'm a lot grayer. That was something I realized, that I got a whole lot grayer.
Our weight shifted, big, small.
I've seen the flexing of our body shapes. Yeah. I have seen Lola's hair grow and shrink in that time. It was really interesting just to see the archival, and seeing some of the old guests that we had, and hadn't thought about some of those people. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder what they're doing. They were so interesting to talk to. Yeah, so I had done something just like that earlier today.
Yeah, it's so, and I wouldn't have even thought of archiving. So this is a very amazing thing for us, because I wouldn't have even thought of that. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you Witchcraft TV for asking that question, I also personally think that us all helping each other out is a big part of pagan broadcasting, is supporting one another, referring guests to other shows, or saying, hey, I had this amazing guest on my show. I think you would love talking to them on your show. I think that is community, that we share the information. I don't think we should be, and some shows are different. Like you might have a more academic show that may not want a bunch of wine drinkers on their show. I don't know, but you never know. Yeah, right? You never know. But you do podcasting, and I was surprised to hear that you've been doing it for 13 years. Can you tell us real quick about that?
Yeah, so in 2011, I started entering podcasting, and the very first show was Pagan Warrior Radio. It was on a network done by the Carillions called Pagans Tonight Radio Network.
Mm-hmm.
But why am I doing podcasting? I had heard it was starting to be a thing, and I thought, well, this could be an interesting way to connect with pagans who are serving our nation in the U.S. military, as well as other people, first responders and other people that really are connected with the warrior path. And I also thought it could be a lot of fun to experiment with this new type of platform. Now, we only got high-speed, functional, excellent internet earlier this year. So doing podcasting and video broadcasting has given us opportunities to problem solve in creative ways, especially during the pandemic when so many people went online with things.
Yes.
I actually think being able to do video casting as well as audio podcasting, an important way of sharing information and connecting with people. But even before doing the podcasting in 2011, back in the 1970s, it came to me that we really should find a way to have pagan-friendly broadcasting on radio and television.
Mm-hmm.
And back in that era, there was an emergence of listener-sponsored radio and television, a community-sponsored television. So in 1976, my very first radio show that I produced and hosted was the Circle Magic Show, a half hour every Thursday night. And yes, we had pagans on, but I thought it was important to feature consciousness exploration. So we had Buddhists on, people involved with chiropractic, holistic medicine.
Nice.
We had psychics on, Matthew Manning, who was very well known back then, people from Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship. So it was multicultural, international, and interreligious, and bringing together thinkers and doers who are really looking at delving into consciousness and enhancing spiritual life. And after doing that for a few years, the opportunity to have a TV show came up because a brand new station, WYOU, was emerging. I thought, well, and of course, it isn't like I have a big funding source for this. This is all volunteer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
A local technical college, and had some of the students there come and do the engineering for the TV show and the camera work and get academic credit. So we had the Magic Circle show, and sometimes the guest on Circle Magic would go with me across Madison, Wisconsin through the studio.
Yeah.
Very homegrown. This was not professionally polished. our engineer for the radio show, Jim Allen, my partner at the time.
Yeah.
And then he also assisted with the Magic Circle show. And we had these fabulous students from the technical college.
Oh, nice.
We were just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And being able to do shows about witches and show them on TV was remarkable.
That's huge. I mean, like I said, you were there at so many pivotal moments in
the evolution
of witchcraft with media, and so I that's amazing. And you now are doing one called Circle of Nature, correct?
Yes, that is my podcast at present, and I from time to time will do pop-up live streams, usually on Instagram, sometimes on Facebook.
Yep.
And I have discovered reels. So I will turn a chant into a reel, or I will just find something peculiar and put that out on social media.
So cool.
I'm the same way. I am discovering like the YouTube shorts, and I do TikTok, and I make fun of myself because I am from a generation. I'm 52, so I know some people say that's being a baby, but I'm still from a generation where we didn't have this stuff growing up. I did not have computers and internet. And I am very much just trying to get involved in all that. So I relate to where you discover reels and shorts and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Well, yes, and it takes a lot of time. I get that. And I guess I'll just say that one of the challenges of having a social media presence that from time to time gets a lot of attention, that my name, my photographs, and even some of my videos get taken by scammers and imposters.
Yes.
So I'll just put out my request that as we navigate the magical realm of cyberspace, be sure that who you're connecting with is who they are.
Yes.
And if you find somebody's imitating me or you all or somebody else, it's really a good idea to not only block them, but to report them.
Yes.
So it is such an amazing way to be able to connect with people around the world with live streams. I mean, it's just fabulous. And when I do a live stream, I can live stream from the forest where I live.
Yes, I've seen you do that.
And I ask people, well, where are you usually? And it's just amazing to have a global audience just pop up.
It's pretty cool.
It's really, that's a fabulous thing. So there are quite a few scammers that are direct messaging people, claiming to be me and offering to do who knows what, probably for money. That's not me. I actually do consultations, but I don't direct message anybody advertising for readings. I have a waiting list. So anybody that really does want to do a reading with me should send me an email, selena@circlesanctuary.org. Why an email? I will be able to more securely know you're who you are. And if somebody has hacked somebody else's account, just don't want to deal with that. So often I bring a broom out and I do my public service announcement.
I love it.
Clean up the internet.
You're like our fairy godmother, Selena. You're making sure that we are taken care of. You're making sure that we're getting our information correctly, and you want to take care of your witches, and you want to make sure we're getting the correct information. And I love that. I think that's amazing.
And I think it is just fabulous to be able to connect with everybody live here and on YouTube and Facebook, to actually be on two platforms at once.
Yes. Yes. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was gonna
lady?
say you were commenting earlier about getting everything backed up and making sure that the authenticity is there of the people you're talking with in the video or whatever you're clicking on. It's the whole idea of the intellectual properties. Make sure that you are protecting your stuff. Your stuff is what you create has value. Know that and protect yourself in that, because people are going to try to take that away from you and try to make a buck off of your name when you're doing the work, not them.
Yes, thank you. That's important. He's more internet savvy than I. He's 7 years younger than me, and he's the one that brought, when we got together 20 years ago, 19 years ago. He's the one that brought a computer into the home and showed me Facebook, or showed me MySpace and Facebook, and showed me what an iPod was. Like, I was just blown away. So I always defer to him.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize 19 years later.
I know. And now look at us. We're all over the place.
I think it's just fabulous. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and be part of Witches and Wine. And I see somebody's asking about eco-spirit psychology.
Yes, that's our friend Daniel. Yeah.
That has been part of my journey from the very beginning. And my academic and professional backgrounds in psychology. And back in 1970, I heard the call of Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin to have people come together to learn about the environment. And I was one of hundreds of people on college campuses and in communities all across the US that helped birth Earth Day back then. And I'm so thankful to see a question about eco-psychology. My husband, Dr. Dennis Carpenter, and I have professionally been in the realm of psychology as a whole and eco-psychology in particular. So for over 30 years, we have been networking with other people in the field of psychology to talk about the importance of talking about mental well-being, not only humans being in good relation with other humans and with the different dimensions of self, but we need to be in good relation with that greater circle of nature of which we're part. I remember us being at a national academic psychology conference back in the 90s. And those of us who were into eco-psychology were able to connect and share ideas. And that is part of the profession of psychology that's growing, looking at the impact of environment with humans and humans with the environment.
Yeah.
I do think it's important for us to keep ourselves aware, spiritually aware of our local environment and the global environment. And well, Witchtober 2024 in the US is an election time. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I encourage you to vote for the planet. There are choices, and you can't always go by the political party. So for candidates running in local elections, state elections, and nationwide elections, look at the environmental record. And to me, part of the magic of being a witch and a pagan and somebody involved in nature spirituality is we not only commune with nature, but we are warriors for nature. And we need to find ways to motivate people to take action. I actually have a chant for that.
I'd love to hear it.
I create environmental chants, and it's bring human change to climate change. Bring human change to climate change. Awaken all humankind. Take action while there is time. So
I love it.
That back in 2019, pre-pandemic, for a climate strike action rally in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. And prior to the rally, I actually was one of the religious leaders in the greater Madison, Wisconsin area that took part in interfaith gatherings. So I was hanging out with people from a lot of different paths and sharing from our different spiritual traditions prior to the climate rally. And yes, I got everybody chanting the new chant.
Oh. Well, you know,
on my YouTube channel, I have some version of it there. But I do think that part of the witchiness of this time of year is not only being able to do some wonderful connections and sharings like your show right now, but for us to take some time and get the vote out and to be an informed voter. And early voting is already starting to happen.
Yep.
So I do think we need to be aware that there are some forces in the US that are toxifying the pagan word. There have been some books coming out using the pagan word in a very destructive and wrong way. And so we need to stand up for our rights, and we need to have some fun along the way.
Drink and drink to having fun and educating. That is amazing. Before we wrap this up, I want you to talk about your connection with Dionysus, because I mean, how could we not talk about Dionysus?
I have an altar to him. It's right outside of our wine cellar. I have him primarily in his Greek form, but as you know, Bacchus was the Roman recycling of Dionysus. And the old chant, yo, evo, hey, was done in connection with those old rites. And that was the first ancient pagan chant I ever did in a ritual. And Dionysus sometimes gets some misunderstanding. Yes, he is very much about having fun with wine and really going into euphoric states, but he also is someone who can be a divinity for our time, and you don't have to be a Greek reconstructionist to resonate with him. He's one of those forms of the divine that I call multicultural and interreligious, because he is very much alive in our world today. And Dionysus not only can be a party deity, but can help us explore the depths of our own consciousness. And my own work in psychology began very early in life, and that's where my academic training is. I still do a part-time practice, as well as doing readings and things when the time permits. But Dionysus is a complex creature. And
he is.
He bends gender, and I know not everybody is comfortable with that concept. However, if you go to the classical past, you know that there was a lot more welcoming of diversity. Yes, the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks had some things, there was patriarchal dimensions that weren't good things for us to recycle into this time here.
No.
However, when you think about the United States and our architecture and some of our symbols, they're rooted in the classical past. And so people who want to narrowly define and falsely define the United States, as I put Christian in quotes, because the Christians I know that are really resonating with Jesus, and he was a winemaker, by the way. He turned water to wine.
Yes, he did.
You know, that essentially we need to find good ways to connect with each other and to celebrate the wonders of life and to get active and dispel the negativity, the misinformation. Together we can be strong, not only bringing humans together, but us being part of the greater natural world, not only here on planet Earth, but since my earliest days, I will say, nature is not only earth-centered, it's cosmic. And
Yes.
I got to see the Northern Lights recently, and
Oh,
having that kind of ecstatic experience of seeing the Northern Lights at night, or calling on Dionysus, or calling on Lady Liberty, who actually is not only a symbol of the United States and freedom, but an ancient pagan goddess.
yes,
So
she is. I did a report on Lady Libertas, and there are some people that relate her. There's many ways that she's been related to. Some people relate her to the Roman goddess Trivia, which is also Hecate.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that if you look
That
into
torch-bearing
the
aspect.
torch bearing, it's very. We are very pagan country. They just don't want to admit it.
there's some of us who are actively connecting with Lady Liberty and Lady Justice, not just as symbols and icons, but as multicultural, interreligious, international deities.
Yes.
And I see somebody wants to know if I'm a Libra. Absolutely.
No.
October 20th is my birthday.
Not
and
you
I have
personally, but
multiple planets in Libra, but Scorpio rising. And activism gets a lot of fuel.
Are you a Libra?
yeah, she's a
I am
Catholic.
a Libra.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. I love that us witches can call our signs out. Oh my God, we are coming up on the hour. We could talk all freaking 2 hours, 3 hours with you. We would love to have you come back, Selena, and tell us more about wonderful things. You have just been,
It's been an honor to have you.
it's been an honor to have you, and for you to like grace our presence with your show or with your presence. It's amazing. And I appreciate everything you've done for us. I think it's important. We had Alexander Cabot on last week, and he is very much about honoring our elders. I don't know if you want to be called an elder, but elder in the best way. We need to remember where this all came from, because we have to know where we came from so we know where to go.
Without people like you, like Oberon Zell, like Pete Pathfinder, these people who have paved the way for us to be able to be where we're at now, to be in the public, and to not be shunned and not be killed anymore just because we happen to think a different way than the masses do.
Yeah. And it's just, you've brought that all to us. I want to thank you for being on our show. We're going to do our little closing here. First of all, we are a nonprofit organization, Children of the Crossroads. We are affiliated with the ATC. We are honored to be affiliated with the ATC. So anyone that's watching, if you want to make a donation to us, so we do need we need things to run this show. We need things to help the community. We can't do this out of our pockets because, believe it or not, we don't get paid for spreading the word of the goddess. So you can donate to us at our PayPal. It's very easy. It's PayPal me COTC ATC. That's Children of the Crossroads ATC. We also have a Venmo. It's the same. It's venmo.com, COTC, ATC. And if you want to join our Discord, we have a wonderful online community. And you can go to our Discord. Is that where it's at right there?
Yep.
It is our Discord. It's also in the description of this YouTube video. You can click on the link. It's free. You can
we
talk
offer
with us.
daily services.
We do daily devotionals. We have workshops. We have online rituals. That is where our hub is. We like to be available to online communities because there's so many people that can't get out and join a circle. There are so many people that really, just because of COVID, this has kind of brought witchcraft to the mainstream of online, and we just want to carry that out. Also, if you are interested in being a guest on our show, or you are interested in what we do in the community, I'm going to put our email address
Or if you have a
up.
wine that you would suggest that you want us to try that we have not tried,
Yes, if there's a wine you would like us to try, you can email us at
crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Selena Fox. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone that asked questions and participated. And remember, be kind to each other, be kind to Mother Earth, and always walk with the goddess. And until next time, blessed be. Have
Bye,
a
all.
wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you all for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.